Chapter 1. The Gilded Cage. Silk. Cold, so cold. The ceremonial gown slid over Rory's skin, not with a whisper, but with a hiss of a snake. It was white. Of course it was white. The color of surrender. The color of purity for a mating she never ever asked for. Her hands shook. She stared at her reflection in the polished, silver mirror. A girl stared back. A girl with eyes too wide, too haunted. A girl with fire in her heart, but ice in her veins. This wasn't her. This was a doll. A sacrifice. Oh, you look beautiful. Eliza, one of the pack's older females, clasped her hands together. Her voice was a sugary sweet poison. Alpha Damon will be so proud. Rory's stomach turned. Proud. The word tasted like ash. Proud of what? His new property? His latest acquisition? Her mind screamed. Love shouldn't feel like a cage. But this was the only love her pack knew. It was a love of duty. A love of politics. A love that bound the strongest to the well, to the politically useful. And she, Aurora Rory Vale, was an omega, a bargaining chip. Her worth was tied to who she was given to. She had to get out. This realization wasn't new. It was a small, hard seed of rebellion she had nurtured for years. She held it tight, especially on nights she remembered her mother. Her mother, who had loved freely and wildly, and who had been broken by that very love. A story no one else dared to tell. A secret that festered. Was that her destiny? To be broken, or to be caged? She chose neither. Just a few more moments, Eliza, Rory whispered. Her voice was a cracked reed. She needed it to be convincing. I want to pray. To the moon goddess. For guidance. Eliza's face softened. What a fool. Of course, dear. Of course. A beautiful, pious mate. He will be thrilled. The woman fussed with a final ribbon on the dress, a ribbon that felt like a noose. Don't be long. The drums they're about to start. The door clicked shut. Silence. Rory didn't breathe for 3 heartbeats. Then she moved. There was no time for prayer. The goddess had her chance to offer guidance, and all she had offered was this ceremony. Rory ripped the delicate lace from her wrists. It tore with a satisfying shriek. Underneath the window seat, hidden beneath a false panel her father had never known about, was her escape. Not a rope. Too obvious. It was a small, sharp skinning knife, stolen from the kitchens, and a pair of boys' trousers, stained and rough. She worked, her shaking hands now driven by pure, unadulterated adrenaline. The silk dress in her prison was too tight. She couldn't breathe. She hated it. She jammed the knife into the intricate seams of the bodice. Rip. The sound of tearing fabric was the first note of freedom. Rip. Thump, thump. Thump. The drums. Eliza was right. They had started. The sound vibrated through the stone floor, up her legs, into her chest. A countdown. A heartbeat for a life she refused to lead. Thump, thump. Thump. She kicked the shredded white prison away. It lay on the floor like a dead swan. She pulled the rough trousers on, her skin screaming at the abrasive fabric. Good. The pain was real. Pain was not silk. The window was her only way. It overlooked the kitchens, a short drop onto the thatched roof below. She'd practiced this. In her mind. 1,000 times. Love shouldn't be a cage. She slid the knife into the waistband of the trousers. Thump, thump. Thump. Louder now. Closer. They were waiting for her. The pack. Her mate. Rory climbed onto the window seat. She didn't look back at the room. She didn't look at the white dress. She looked out at the dark line of the trees. The forbidden lands. A cold gust of night air hit her face. It smelled of pine and of elsewhere. With a final, gasping breath that was half sob, half war cry, she unlatched the window. As the drums reached their pounding crescendo, calling for the bride, calling for the sacrifice, Rory Vale vanished into the night. Chapter 2. The Shadow Line. Running. It was the only thing that mattered. The forest floor was a trap of wet leaves and grasping roots. Each one seemed to claw at her ankles, trying to drag her back to the life she'd just escaped. Stop her. The shout was guttural. Animals. It was Yeruk, her fiancé's lead enforcer. Rory's lungs burned. Fire. Pure, agonizing fire. But she didn't slow. She couldn't. Because to be caught now after what she'd done wasn't just a beating. It wasn't just being dragged back. It would be worse. Damon, the alpha son, was not a kind man. He believed in control. He believed in possession. An Omega who ran? That was a toy that needed to be broken until it learned to stay in its box. She would not be broken. Scrappy. A branch tore across her cheek. It stung. Hot and sharp. She tasted copper. Her own blood. The first taste of freedom. It tasted like fear. She's heading for the ridge. Cut her off. More voices. How many were there? 3? 4? Their heavy footfalls crashed through the underbrush behind her. They were faster. They were stronger. They were alphas and betas. She was just an Omega. Just an Omega. The thought made her snarl. She put on a burst of speed, fueled by pure, bitter rage. For years, she was told what an Omega was.
Weak.
Submissive. A caregiver.
A prize.
They never bothered to see the fire. They never bothered to see the steel. Now they would. The trees grew thicker here. Darker. The moonlight of the goddess's light couldn't reach the forest floor. It was all shadows and deep, dark gloom. Good. She was a creature of shadow now. A runaway. She remembered the stories. The stories the pack elders told the pups to scare them into behaving. Don't you ever go near the Leaken border. Don't go near the dead river. They live there. The shadows. The monsters. They don't just kill you. They take you. They change you. They are the Alpha King's curse. The Lycans. A different breed. Primal. Uncontrolled. Or too controlled. No one was sure. They were the bogeymen. The ones who had fought the Great War with the wolves and had lost? Or had they won? The stories were always muddled. But the fear was clear. The Leaken border was marked by the Shadowline Ridge. A place where nothing grew. And she was running right for it.
Thud. Thud. Thud.
The guards were close. She could smell their sweat. Their anger. She burst through a curtain of hanging moss and stopped. The world ended. In front of her was a cliff. Not a huge one, but steep. A 30-foot drop to a riverbed. But the riverbed was dead.
It was dry.
Just black, jagged rocks. The shadow line. The border. Nowhere left to run, Omega. Jarek's voice was triumphant. He and 2 other guards hulking, massive stepped into the clearing. They weren't running now. They were stalking. Rory backed up. Her heel hit the crumbling edge of the ridge. Small pebbles rained down into the darkness. It's over, Rory. Jarek's voice softened. But it was a lie. A predator's lie. Come back. Damon, he'll forgive you. We all know the pre-mating jitters can make a female emotional. He smiled. A slow, cruel smile. Rory looked at him. She looked at the cage he represented. The life of being emotional. The life of being forgiven for wanting her own. Then she looked down. Into the blackness of the forbidden territory. The land of monsters. What was the difference? A monster she knew or a monster she didn't. She heard a new sound. From below. From the dark riverbed. A low growl. It was deep. It rumbled. It was nothing like the growls of her pack. This sound had teeth. Yeruk heard it too. His smile vanished. He and the other guards took a step back. Their bravado was gone. Replaced by a sudden, very real, very primal terror. They were afraid of this place. More than they were afraid of their alpha's anger. This was her choice. The monster she knew or the monster she didn't. Rory got away from the edge. Now. Jarek's voice was a whisper. Rory locked eyes with him. She gave him a smile. It was all teeth. All blood. All the fire they never saw. And she jumped. Chapter 3. The Alpha King's Mark. The fall was a shock. It wasn't a graceful leap. It was a desperate, terrified tumble.
She didn't fall, she crashed.
Rory hit the jagged rocks. Hard. Pain exploded in her left side. A white-hot, searing agony that stole her breath. She tasted the blood from her cheek again, mixed with dirt and something else. Ozone. Like the air before a lightning strike. She tried to scream, but the air was punched from her lungs. She lay there, a broken bird on the floor of the dead river, staring up at the ridge. Yerrick and the guards were just silhouettes now, staring down. They weren't coming. She knew it. They were terrified. She was alone.
Growl.
It was closer now. All around her. The growl wasn't just a sound. It was a force. It vibrated in her bones, in the rocks beneath her. It rattled her teeth. Rory pushed herself up, ignoring the scream of her ribs. The knife.
She had to get the knife.
Her hand fumbled at her waistband. It was still there. She pulled it free. A tiny, useless piece of steel. "Who's there?" she whispered. Her voice was pathetic. Shadows detached themselves from the darkness. They weren't wolves. Gods, they weren't wolves. They were massive. They walked on two legs, but they were not men. They were beasts, clad in black leather armor that seemed to be fused with their skin. Their faces were wrong. A horrific, beautiful blend of man and wolf, but more. Their eyes glowed. Faintly. A sickly, cold, blue light. Lycans. The stories were wrong. They weren't monsters. They were demons. One of them bigger than the other stepped forward.
He was holding something.
A heavy, black chain. Rory scrambled back, crab-walking over the rocks. The pain in her side was a living thing. "Stay back. I am warning you." She held up the knife. The Lycan sentinel laughed. It wasn't a human laugh. It was the sound of rocks grinding together. He took another step. Rory's defiance, the thing that had carried her this far, took over. She was not a doll. She was not a sacrifice. With a scream that was pure animal fury, she lunged. She drove the knife forward, aiming for the creature's chest.
Clang.
The blade struck the armor and shattered. The hilt vibrated in her hand before falling uselessly to the rocks. The sentinel didn't even flinch. He just watched her. Then, faster than she could ever have believed, his hand shot out. His fingers his claws were wrapped in leather. He didn't grab her arm. He grabbed her face. His grip was iron. He lifted her clean off the ground. Her feet dangled. The pain in her side exploded. Black spots danced in her vision. "Omega," the sentinel growled. The word was a curse. "You are on Lycan land. You are trespassing." "Let me go," she choked out, clawing at his hand. It was like pulling at a mountain. The other sentinels, 3 of them, fanned out. They were watching the ridge, watching her pack. Then they all went still. A new scent hit the air. It cut through the ozone. It cut through the smell of her own blood and fear. It was winter. Pine. Old power. It was him. The sentinels, these monsters, parted. They dropped to one knee. Not in supplication. In reverence. He stepped out of the shadows. If the sentinels were massive, he was a king. He was not wearing the same animalistic armor. He was dressed in black. Simple. But it was the way he moved. Like a shadow given form. He was tall. So tall. Broad shoulders that seemed to block out the faint moonlight. His hair was as black as the river rocks. He walked past her. He didn't even look at her. He walked to the center of the riverbed and looked up. At Yerrick. At the guards.
He didn't speak.
He just stared. Rory watched, still dangling from the sentinel's grip. Yerrick brave, cruel Yerrick flinched. He whimpered. And then he ran. He and the other guards. They just turned and fled into the forest. The king of the Lycans had routed them without a single word. Silence fell. A heavy, terrifying silence. Then, slowly he turned. Rory's heart just stopped. He was beautiful. Not in a human way. He was beautiful like a winter storm. Beautiful like a perfect predator. His face was all sharp angles and unforgiving lines. But his eyes were not blue. They were gold. Molten. Burning. His gaze swept over her. It was heavy, like a physical weight. He took in her torn clothes. The blood on her cheek. The shattered hilt of her knife. His eyes lingered on her. The sentinel holding her, he trembled. The king took a step. Then another. He stopped right in front of her. He was so close she could feel the cold rolling off him. He looked at the hand holding her. Then he looked at the sentinel. His voice when it came was not a growl. It was worse. It was a smooth, dark, velvet command.
Put
Her. Down. The sentinel dropped her. Instantly. Rory landed on her feet, but her legs gave out. The pain on her side collapsed to her knees. She was at his feet. A runaway Omega. A captured trespasser. She looked up, defiant to the last. She would not cry. And her eyes met his.
boom.
It wasn't a sound. It was a snap. Like the world itself just broke. It wasn't a wildfire. It was an explosion. Fate didn't just burn. It was consumed. He saw it too. His eyes widened. The gold it flared. A flash of what?
Shock?
Rage?
Pain.
He recoiled. He physically took a step back, as if she had burned him. A noise ripped from his chest. A low, agonizing sound. It was the growl from before. But it wasn't a threat. I panicked. He looked at her, and for a second, the Alpha King, the monster, looked lost. Then the mask slammed back down. The cold returned. He stared at her, his chest heaving. The world narrowed to just the two of them. The space between them crackled. And a single, burning, impossible thought echoed in her mind. A word she had never heard, but somehow knew.
Mate.
The Alpha King stared at her, his face a mask of beautiful, terrifying rage. "What are you?" he whispered. And Rory, for the first time in her life, had no answer. Chapter 4. The Silver and the Gold. Waking up was worse. The fall had been painful. This was agony. Cold. It was a deep, deep cold. It wasn't the air. The air in the vast, dark room was still.
No.
This was a biting, leeching chill. It was the chains. Rory opened her eyes. They felt glued shut. Her whole body was a symphony of hurt, but the loudest notes were from her ribs and her wrists. She was on a stone floor, not the rocky riverbed. This was polished,
Obsidian.
black and endless. It reflected a faint light. Torches. High above. She was in a hall, a massive hall. The ceiling was lost in the shadows. Stone pillars, thick as ancient trees, held up the darkness. And she was chained. She pulled. The clink echoed. Too loud.
Silver.
Her skin screamed. It wasn't just a chain. It was silver. The metal didn't just hold her. It burned. A cold burn. It felt like it was drinking her strength.
Why?
Wolves hated silver. It was a poison. But this felt different. This felt personal. "She is awake, my king." The voice. The same one from the riverbed. The sentinel. The one who had grabbed her. Rory's head snapped up. Too fast. The room spun. He was there. At the far end of the hall. Sitting on a throne. It wasn't a throne of gold. It was carved from the same black stone as the floor. It looked like it had grown there. Jagged. Brutal. And the Alpha King Kale was a shadow sitting on a block of night. He wasn't wearing armor now. He wore a simple black tunic. But it did nothing to hide the power. He was not a man. He was a force. He was just watching her. His golden eyes. They were the only color in the entire, vast room. Just those two burning, molten points of light. Omega. His voice wasn't a shout. It didn't need to be. It filled the hall. It slid across the stone, cold and smooth. "You have caused a problem." Rory tried to speak. Her throat was sandpaper. "You ran," she rasped. "From me." Kale's head tilted. A slow, predatory movement. "I ran." He laughed. A sound with no humor. A sound like a tomb door closing. "I did not run, little wolf." He stood up.
Gods.
He was so tall. He flowed down the steps of the dais. Not walking. Prowling.
He stopped.
10 feet away. Close enough for her to feel the cold. Close enough for her to smell that scent again. Winter. Pine. Ozone. "You crossed my border," he said, his voice a low rumble. "You attacked my sentinel." He looked at her shattered knife, which was sitting on the steps. "And you bear his mark." Rory frowned. Pain lanced through her head. "Whose?" "Damon." The name was a curse on Kale's tongue. "Alpha of the Red Creek Pack. I can smell his claim on you. The ceremony you ran from." Rory flinched.
Shame.
Fury. "It was forced. I never." "It does not matter." He roared. The sound hit her. It was a physical blow. The torches in the hall flared. Rory stopped breathing. He was shaking. Chaol Ravenshadow, the Alpha King, the monster of the stories, was trembling. His hands were clenched into white-knuckled fists at his sides. It wasn't rage. Not just rage. I panicked. The same panic she saw in his eyes in the riverbed. He was afraid. You should not be here, he whispered. It was to himself, not to her. And then his eyes locked on hers.
Boom.
The snap. The connection. That horrible, beautiful, agonizing pull. It hit her again. But this time she felt him. It was painful, unimaginable. A cold, burning, ancient pain. It was guilt. It was a loss. She saw flashes. A woman's face. Not hers.
Snow.
Blood on the snow. A scream. His scream. Rory cried out. She pulled back. The silver chains seared her skin. But the vision of his pain vanished. Chaol stumbled. He put a hand on one of the pillars. He was breathing hard. He was gasping. He stared at her. Not with rage, but with disgust and denial. What are you? He breathed. The same words as before. But now they have a new meaning.
I mine Justrore.
You are a lie, he snarled. He was backing away, step by step, back toward his throne, back toward his shadows. You are her. You smell like her. You know, Rory didn't understand. She was in so much pain. Her side, her wrists, her head. I don't know who you're talking about. Get her out of my sight. The roar was back, but it was different now. It was brittle. It was the sound of a man trying to hold himself together. Put her in the dungeon, he commanded, his back to her now. He was gripping the arm of his throne. No, not the dungeon. He paused. Rory could feel him fighting with what? Put her in the North Tower, he said, his voice quiet again.
Deadly.
And keep her away from me. The sentinel, the one who had been silent this whole time, stepped forward. He unlocked her chains from the floor, but the silver stayed on her wrists. He grabbed her arm.
Rough.
Rory cried out as he hauled her to her feet. The world tilted.
She was so weak.
The silver was draining her. As the sentinel dragged her from the throne room, she looked back. Just once. Chaol hadn't moved. He was a silhouette of a king of shadows, a king of pain, and she was the cause.
Why?
Why did he hurt? Chapter 5. The Mark of the Moon. The North Tower was a prison, but it was a beautiful prison. This was worse. So much worse than a dungeon. The sentinel had shoved her inside and locked the door. A heavy, iron-bound door. Thud. Rory had collapsed. Now hours later the sun was coming up. She could see it through the single, tall, arched window. A window with no glass. Just open air. The room was luxurious. A soft bed with silk sheets. The very thing she despised. A table with food.
Bread. Cheese.
A pitcher of water. A gilded cage.
It was a statement.
You are not a prisoner. You are a pet. Rory's stomach growled, but she didn't touch the food. She was still wearing the silver. The cold burn was constant. It made her feel weak. Fuzzy. She had to get them off. She looked around the room. Stone. Just stone. Nothing sharp. But the window. It overlooked a courtyard. Not a chasm. The tower was built on the edge of a cliff. The ground was hundreds of feet down.
No escape.
This was his message. I am not afraid of you running. You have nowhere to run. She was trapped. Rory sat on the edge of the bed. The silk felt wrong against her skin. She felt filthy. She thought of Chaol. His eyes. His panic. The flashes of snow and blood. What was that? Whose face had she seen?
Clang. Clang. Clang.
A bell. An alarm bell. It started slow, then faster. A frantic, terrified ringing.
Shouts.
Rory ran to the window. She pressed herself against the cold stone. She could see the front gates. Far below. And they were under attack. Wolves. Dozens of them. But they were wrong. They were mad. Their fur was matted. Their eyes glowed red. Not gold.
Rogues.
But they were organized. They were moving like an army. They had weapons. Some of them, in half-shifted form, were carrying axes. They swarmed the Leakin sentinels. The sentinels were beasts. They tore through the rogues. But there were too many.
Crash.
The sound was closer. It was from her door. Rory spun around. The iron-bound door buckled. Crash. Wood splintered. The bar on the other side snapped. The door exploded open. A rogue stood there. It was huge. Bigger than the others. Its fur was black. Its red eyes landed on her. It snarled. The female, it gurgled. The voice was broken. The prize. It lunged. Rory didn't scream. She didn't have time. She moved. She rolled off the bed. The silver chains clinked. The rogue wasn't just a rogue. It smelled wrong. It smelled of ash. And magic. It turned. It was fast. The Alpha King wants you. But we will take you. It snarled. It swiped at her. The claws extended. Rory dodged. She grabbed the metal pitcher of water from the table. She threw it. It hit the rogue in the face. The creature just shook its head. Annoyed. It lunged again. Rory was trapped. The window was at her back. No, not a cage. Not again. Rory. The voice. It wasn't in the room. It was in her head.
Cale.
The rogue heard it too. It hesitated. And, in that moment, everything changed. The rogue turned. It was looking past her. Out the window. Rory looked.
Cale.
He was on the chasm wall.
Climbing.
He was in his other form. Not a wolf. Leakin. A monster. All black fur and shadow. And claws. He leapt from the wall into the room. He flew across the chasm. He hit the rogue. The sound was sickening. But Cale was hurt. An arrow was sticking out of his shoulder. It was black. Ash wood.
He roared.
He was a king. He was a beast. But there were two more rogues. They piled in through the broken door. They weren't after her. They were after him. They swarmed him. Cale was fighting.
Tears.
But he was wounded. He was slowing down. One rogue had an axe. It raised it.
No.
The scream ripped from Rory's throat. It wasn't a human scream.
It was a howl. Pain.
The silver it melted. The chains they just dissolved into steam. A light exploded from her. It was a silver light. It burned. She fell to her knees. But it wasn't her. She changed. It wasn't a wolf. Not like her pack.
It was sleek and bright.
Her fur was white. She looked at her paws. And on her shoulder glowing was a mark. A sigil. A crescent moon, circled by stars. It pulsed. The rogue stopped. They stared at her. Their red eyes wide. The sigil, one whispered. It's her. They were afraid. They weren't afraid of Cale. They were afraid of her. Rory didn't think. She acted. Instinct.
Mean it.
She moved. She was fast. Faster than the rogues. Faster than anything. She didn't have claws like Cale. She had light. She hit the first rogue. It screamed. It disintegrated. Into ash. The second one it ran. The third one, the one with the axe, stared at her. Rory growled. The sound was beautiful. And terrible. The rogue dropped the axe. It backed away. It jumped out the window. Into the chasm. It chose to fall. Silence. The room was still. The light was fading. Rory felt drained. She was human again. She collapsed. The world was spinning. She was falling. Strong arms caught her. Not human arms.
Claws.
But gentle. She looked up.
Cale.
He was still in his Leakin form. The black fur. The gold eyes. The arrow was still in his shoulder. He was staring at her. At her shoulder. Where the mark had been. He wasn't angry. He wasn't in pain. He was shocked. He was awed. He held her. Unconscious. He whispered, "What are you?" Chapter 6. The Blood and the Prophecy. The next time she woke it was too soft. Silk. Again. Rory's eyes snapped open. She was in bed. A massive bed. The room was huge. A fireplace crackled. The ceiling was wood, not stone. And she was clean. Someone had bathed her. Her torn trousers are gone. She was in a simple, soft cotton nightgown. And the silver chains.
Gone.
Her wrists were raw.
Red.
But free. Rory sat up. Too fast.
Easy.
The voice. His voice.
Kale.
He was sitting in a chair by the fire. He wasn't the king from the throne room. He wasn't the beast from the tower. He was a man. He was wounded. His left arm was in a sling. His chest was bare and bandaged. Thick, white bandages. He was just watching her. His golden eyes weren't burning. They weren't cold. They were confused. "Where am I?" Rory whispered. "My chambers," he said. His voice was quiet.
Horse.
Rory pulled the blankets up to her chin. "His chambers? Why?" "The rogues are gone," he said, ignoring her question. "They fled. After you," he couldn't seem to say it. What was that?" Rory asked. She looked at her own hands. I don't understand. I'm an Omega. I've never." "You are not an Omega," Kale said. It wasn't a guess. It was a fact. He stood up. Slowly. He winced. The wound was bad. He walked to the bed. He didn't prowl. He walked. He stopped. A few feet away. "You are an impossibility," he whispered. I don't know what you mean." "The mark," he said. "The lunar sigil." He knew what it was. "Our elders have stories," he said. He was talking. Really talking. A prophecy. From before the war. Rory just listened. "The stories say that the moon goddess loved us. The wolves. The lichens. We were all one. But there was a betrayal. A curse." His eyes darkened. "The curse split us. It broke us. It created hate." He looked at his own hands. Claws were visible. "But the goddess promised a cure," he said. "A wolf born not of pack. A wolf who could heal the rift. A wolf who would bear her mark." He looked at her. "The lunar sigil." Rory shook her head. No, you're wrong."
I've Rorivale.
"From Red Creek." My mother, she was. Her mother. The secret. The secret of her mother, who had loved wildly. And who had been broken by it. A Leakin?
No.
"Your bloodline," Kale said. He seemed to read her mind. "The Vale bloodline. It is old. It is real." He knew her name. "The rogues they knew," Rory said. They called me a prize." Kale's aura changed. The cold returned. "Yes," he snarled. "They are not just rogues. They follow him. The shadow. The one who benefits from the curse." Rory didn't understand. This was too much. "I want to go home," she whispered. It was a lie. She had no home. Kale smiled. "It was terrible."
"Home," he said.
"To Damon? Who sent those hunters after you?" Rory's blood ran cold. "What?" "The guards at the ridge," Kale said. "They were not just guards. They were hunters. They were sent to kill you."
"No."
Why would he?" "Because of this," Kale said. He reached out. His hand. The one with claws. He touched her face. His claws retracted. His fingertips were warm. He brushed the hair from her cheek. Where the branch had cut her.
The pole.
It was there.
Meaning.
The word screamed in both their minds. Kale tore his hand away. He stumbled back. He clutched his chest. He was in agony. "The curse," he gasped. It burns." He looked at her. His eyes were gold. And full of hate.
And despair.
"I should kill you," he whispered. "Your blood, it calls to it." "I don't understand." "Rory," she was crying. You will," he said. He looked at the door. "You are not a prisoner," he gasped. "But you will never leave this castle."
He turned.
He walked out. He slammed the door. Rory was alone.
Trapped.
By fate. By desire. By a curse. The moon rose outside. It was a sliver. But Rory felt it. Kale felt it. A pulse.
A throb.
The bond. It was real. And it was a prison for both of them. Chapter 7. The Scent of Winter.
Days.
How many? 3? 4? Rory had lost count. This new room, Kale's chambers, was worse than the tower.
Why?
Because it was warm. Because the food left by a silent female Leakin who never made eye contact was hot. Because there were no chains. No silver. The door was unlocked. She had checked. The first night. Her hand trembled. She pulled the heavy iron ring. The door creaked open. Into a hallway. A hallway filled with 2 massive sentinels. They just looked at her. They didn't move. But their eyes said, "Try it."
So.
Not a cage. A leash. A very long leash. She was a pet. Rory hated it. She hated the soft clothes they left for her. Tunics. Trousers. Soft like surrender. She hated the food she had to eat to live. She hated him.
Kale.
She had not seen him. Not since he slammed the door. Not since he left her alone. But his scent. God's scent. It was everywhere. In the blankets. On the pillow. In the chair by the fire. Winter.
Pine.
Ozone. It was maddening. She would wake up smelling him. She would fall asleep breathing him in. It was a new kind of torture. She felt his pain. A dull throb in her own chest. The bond. It was alive. A living thing. A parasite. She had to get out. But how? She was weak. She knew nothing. And that mark. The lunar sigil. What was it? What was she? The door opened. Rory jumped. She grabbed a poker from the fireplace. Her heart was pounding. It was him.
Kale.
He looked terrible. He was pale. Under his dark skin. The bandages on his chest were fresh. Darker red spots were on them. He was not healing. He looked at the poker in her hand. His face didn't change. The rogues, he said.
His voice was gravel.
They sent a message. Rory didn't lower the poker. What do I care about rogues? You will care about this one, Kale said. He stepped inside. He didn't prowl. He moved stiffly.
Pain.
He was in so much pain. Rory's hand shook. Why did that matter? They want a meeting, Kale said. He stopped far away from her. They want peace talks. So talk, Rory spat. They asked for you, he said. Silence. The fire crackled. Me? Rory whispered. They did not ask for Rory, Kale said. His golden eyes burned. They asked for the wolf with the moon's mark. Rory's blood ran cold. They knew, she said. In the tower they knew what I was. Before you did, Kale finished.
Yes.
This was it. The other storyline. The thing that didn't make sense.
Why?
Rory asked. That is what I intend to find out, Kale said. He looked at her. The king was back. The cold king. You will come with me, he said. It wasn't a request. I will not. You will, he cut her off. Because they will not talk to me. They will only talk to you. He gestured around the room. You have a choice, little wolf. You can stay in this room. My pet.
Safe. Warm.
Useless. Rory flinched. Or, he said, you can come with me. Be my voice. My translator. And maybe find out what the hell you are. The deal. The cage or the leash. But the leash went outside. Rory looked at the poker. She looked at him. She lowered it.
Slowly.
I will go with you, she said.
Her voice was shaking.
But you answer my question. Kale raised an eyebrow. What is the curse? Rory demanded. What did I see? Blood? Snow? Who was she? Kale's face slammed shut. The warmth was gone. The king was ice. You are not in a position to make demands, he said. He turned. Be ready in an hour. My sentinels will fetch you. He walked out. The door shut. Rory was alone. With his scent. And 1,000 more questions. Chapter 8. The weight of the air. He lied. It wasn't an hour. It was 3. 3 agonizing hours. Rory paced. She changed into trousers. The tunic. Black. Like his. She felt like a traitor. She felt like a soldier. The sentinels came. He is waiting, they grumbled. They led her down. Downstairs. Endless stairs. The castle was a mountain. They didn't go outside. They went in. To a place that smelled of green things. And damp earth. A cavern.
No.
A garden. Inside the mountain. A massive hole in the ceiling let in the gray daylight. Trees grew here.
Pale trees.
Strange glowing moss. It was beautiful. It was a prison. Kale was there. He was standing by a pool. He wasn't wearing a shirt.
Gods.
His back was to her. Bandages gone. His skin was a canvas of scars. Old white ones. New angry red ones. The arrow wound on his shoulder was black.
Puckered.
Not healing. You're hurt, she said. The words were out. Stupid. Kale turned.
Slowly.
His chest was the same.
Scars.
And muscle. Rory's stomach did a flip.
Hate. Desire.
What was the difference? It is nothing, he said. It is black, she argued. It's poisoned. It is my burden, he snarled. He hated her concern.
Good.
Why are we here? Rory asked. The rogues are not here yet, he said. This is not for them. This is for you. He gestured to the open space. You are a weapon, he said, coldly. A weapon I do not understand. And you hate what you don't understand, she shot back.
A spark.
His golden eyes flashed. Yes. He stepped closer. You shifted. In the tower. I know. How? He demanded. I don't know. Rory yelled. It just happened. You are dying. Silence. The admission. It hung in the damp air. You were dying. Cale heard it. He heard the truth underneath. I cared if you were dying. His face softened. Just a fraction. It was the mark, he whispered. The sigil. It is your power. I can't control it. Learn, he commanded. He stepped back. Shift. Rory stared at him. What? Now I can't. I don't know how. Think, he said. What happened before?
Fear?
Rage. You are hurt. I am hurt now, he said. He touched the black wound. He winced. Rory felt it.
A pang. No.
It doesn't work like that. Then make it work, he roared. He moved.
Fast.
He grabbed her. His hands. On her arms.
Skin.
On skin.
Boom.
The world ended. It wasn't a spark. It was a wildfire.
Heat.
His skin.
Burning.
Her skin. Burning.
Meaning.
The word screamed in his head. Yours. The word answered in hers. Rory gasped. Cale froze. His eyes. Gold. Fire. Hunger. Agony. He looked at her mouth. She looked at him. He was so close. The scent. Winter.
Pine.
She could taste it. He leaned in.
Slowly.
No, he whispered. Yes, she breathed. His lips brushed hers. Fire.
Ice.
Everything.
He groaned.
A sound of pure pain. And shoved her away.
Hard.
Rory stumbled.
Fell.
She hit the damp earth. She stared at him. Heartbroken.
Confused.
What did I do? She sobbed. Cale was clutching his chest. His bad shoulder. He was shaking.
Shaking.
He looked at her.
His eyes were dead. Cold.
Empty. The king was gone. The monster was there. You exist, he hissed. He turned his back to her. If I touch you, he gasped. If I ever let myself feel that. He looked back.
Tears.
He had tears in his eyes. If I love you, he choked out. You'll die. Chapter 9. The Whisper of Treason. If I love you, you'll die. The words. They were her new prison. They were worse than chains. Worse than walls. Days passed. More days. Rory didn't see him. At all. The peace talks had not happened. They were postponed. Indefinitely. Cale was avoiding her. He was avoiding the bond. Rory was adrift. She was alone. In his rooms. With his scent. A cruel reminder. She had to move. She couldn't just sit. So she walked. The sentinels at her door. They watched her. Where does she go? One grumbled. Rory ignored them. She found ways. This castle. It was ancient. It was full of secrets. Like her. She found them. Small passages. Hidden stairs. Places for servants. Long dead. She was small. Quiet. Not like a Leekin. Not like a wolf. She was a shadow. In a castle of shadows. It was night. The castle was asleep. Rory was not. She was in the walls. A cold draft. She followed it. It led down. To a great extent. Voices. Rory froze. She pressed her ear to the stone. Slick voices. Not Cale. Not sentinels. These voices were smooth. Cultured.
Is weak.
The curse is killing him. Faster now that the girl is here. Rory's heart stopped. She is the cause. He keeps her. Protects her. He snapped at Eldergris for just suggesting she be removed. He is distracted.
Lost.
He is not our king. Not anymore. He postponed the talks. Afraid to even be in the same room with her. Then we must do what must be done. Silence. A heavy silence. The rogues will not wait forever. We cannot be ruled by a king who is ruled by his own death wish. The new date for the peace talks is tomorrow. Tomorrow? Kale hadn't told her. It is the perfect time. In the wild garden.
He will be there.
She will be there. A tragedy. The rogues broke the truce. Killed them both. A tragedy.
No. No.
Treason. Rory backed away. Her mind is screaming.
Run.
This is your chance.
Run.
Let them kill him. If he is dead, the bond is gone. She would be free.
Free.
The word tasted like ash. If I love you, you'll die. He pushed her away to save her. He was a monster. He was a jailer. He was her mate. Damn him. Damn them all. She ran. Not away. Through the walls.
Up. Up.
She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she had to find him. She burst out of a passage. Into a huge room. Metal.
Swords.
Armor.
The armory.
He was there. Alone. Sharpening a massive black sword. He looked up. Fury. I told you to stay in the... They are going to kill you, she screamed. The words echoed. Kale stopped. The sword stopped. Who? He whispered. Your own people, Rory gasped. Out of breath. The elders. Tomorrow. At the peace talks. They said the rogues will do it. Lies, KR, the voice wasn't Kale's. It was slick. Cultured. Rory spun around. An elder. An old Leakin. Chris. The one from the whispers. He stepped out from the shadows. He was smiling. The girl is confused, my king. She is a spy. From Red Creek. Sent to divide us. Kale looked at Gurus. He looked at Rory. His face was stone. Who did he trust? Her word against his. Rory's heart pounded. He won't believe me. I'm the curse. I'm the problem.
No.
Rory straightened. She was not an Omega. She was not a pet. She was the lunar sigil. She walked. Past Gurus. Straight to Kale. He was sitting. She was standing. She looked down at him. Then she looked at Gurus. She reached out. Slowly. And she grabbed Kale's hand. The uninjured one.
Boom.
The air cracked. Sparks. Ozone.
Power.
It filled the room. Everyone could feel it. Kale's eyes went wide. Gurus gasped. Rory did not flinch. She held Kale's hand.
Tighter.
She stared at Gurus. Her voice was cold. Cold as ice. He is my mate. Silence. And you will not touch him. Chapter 10. The King's Choice.
Clang. The sound.
It shattered the silence. Kale's sword.
It fell.
From his hands. It hit the stone floor.
Clang.
Rattle. Silence. Gurus the elder laughed. A dry hissing sound. Mate, he sneered. His voice was oil.
Filth.
This thing? This runaway Omega? This Red Creek trash. He spat on the floor. She has befouled your mind, my king. She is the curse made flesh. Let us remove. Silence. Kale's roar. It wasn't a word. It was a force. Of nature. It shook the swords on the walls.
Kale moved. So fast.
A blur of black. Rory flinched. But he didn't hit her. He didn't hit Gurus. He moved between them. He stood in front of Rory. Shielding her. His back was to the elder. His face was to her. And he was terrified. His golden eyes.
Wide. Panicked.
The king was gone. The man was back. What have you done? He whispered. Not an accusation. A plea. I told the truth, she whispered back. Her hand is still tingling. You have signed your own death warrant, he gasped. And mine. The words were unspoken. Then he changed. The terror vanished. The ice slammed back down. He turned. Slowly. To face Gurus. The king was on his throne of shadows again.
Gurus.
Elder of my court. Kale's voice was dead. You are accused of high treason. Gurus laughed again. Accused? By a whore? By a stray bitch you found in a ditch. Kale moved. He grabbed Gurus by the throat. Lifted him. Off the ground. She is your queen. The words. Echoed.
Queen.
Gurus's eyes bulged. He clawed at Kale's hand. Guards.
Kale roared.
Sentinels poured in. Kale dropped Gurus. The elder sprawled on the ground, gasping. Take him, Kale hissed. Put him in the dark. He will await judgment. The guards hesitated, looking at Gurus, at their king, at her. Rory stood there, shaking.
Now.
They moved. They dragged the elder away. Silence. Just the two of them. Kale didn't look at her. He picked up his sword. The talks are still tomorrow, he said, his back to her. You can't be serious, Rory gasped. It's a trap. Everything is a trap, he said, weary. Gurus was not alone. The others who think like him are watching. If I hide now, I am weak. If you go, you are dead. He turned. His eyes were empty. Then I die as a king. He walked past her. You stay here. You are not coming. You said they wouldn't talk to you. They need me. They need the sigil, he corrected. And now my entire court knows I am bound to it. To a runaway Omega.
The shame.
It was his. It was hers. Word will spread, he whispered. It already is. Assassins will come. From every pack. From every shadow. To kill the weak king. And his cursed mate. He stopped at the door. You wanted freedom, little wolf. You just ran into a bigger cage. Chapter 11. The Blackest Rage.
The wild garden. It was different this time.
No sun. A gray overcast sky pressed down. The air was heavy.
Vet.
It smelled of fear. Rory was there. She had come. She had to. Kale hadn't argued. He just looked at her. That empty look. He was here. Stiff. Cold. He stood 3 feet away. It felt like a mile. He wouldn't touch her. He wouldn't look at her.
The bond.
It screamed. A silent scream. They are here, Kale said. Shadows detached from the far wall.
Rogues. 10 of them.
And a new one. Leading. This one was not a brute. He was half-shifted. Smart. His eyes were red. But intelligent. He smiled. All teeth. He looked only at Rory. The sigil-bearer, he purred. His voice rattled. You are even more beautiful than the elder said. Rory froze. Kale stepped forward. You will address me, Kale growled. The rogue laughed. Address you? A dead king? A king who is so afraid of his own heart he walks into our trap. We do not want peace, the rogue said gleefully. We want her.
Now.
Chaos.
Thwip. Thwip. Thwip.
Arrows. Not from the rogues. From above. From the shadows on the cliffs. Leakin arrows. Gursa's men. Rory screamed. Kale moved. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He threw himself in front of her. Thud. Thud. 2 black arrows. Poison. They hit his back.
He roared.
A sound of agony. He stumbled.
To one knee.
The rogues attacked. All at once. A wave of claws. Kale. Rory screamed. He looked up. From his knee. He was fighting. Swatting rogues away. But he was slow. The poison. A rogue slashed his chest.
Blood.
Everywhere.
Kale saw it.
He saw her. He saw the rogue leader lunging past him. At her.
No Kale breathe.
And something broke. His eyes. The gold. It was snuffed out. Like a candle. They went black. Pitch black. Oily black. A scream tore from his throat. Not a wolf. Not a Leakin. It was the sound of a soul tearing. Shadows exploded from him. His fur grew. Black. But it wasn't fur. It was a solid night. Wisps of darkness flickered off him. The moon's rage. He was Ladies a monster. He was not Kale.
He died.
He moved. He didn't kill the rogue leader. He disintegrated him. Turned him to ash. With a touch. The other rogues screamed. I turned to run.
He was faster. Ash. Ash. Ash.
The Leakin assassins above. They fired again. The shadow that was Kale looked up. The arrow stopped. In midair. And turned to dust. Silence. He was the only thing moving. Standing in a pile of ash. Breathing. It sounds like a furnace. Rory was shaking. Kale, she whispered.
He turned. Slowly.
The black eyes.
Soulless.
Empty. They found her. He sniffed the air. He snarled. His enemy. He stalked toward her. Kale, no, it's me, Rory. He raised a hand. claws longer than knives. Dripping shadow. He swiped.
Fust.
Rory screamed.
Ducked.
SSSSHHK. He missed. By an inch. He tore the stone wall behind her. He froze. His hand. Shaking. He looked at his claws. He looked at her. Her face. The tears. The terror. A flicker. Gold. The black receded.
His eyes.
They were Cale's again. Flooded. With agony. With horror. With self-hate. He looked at what he had done. He looked at her.
Asobi.
A broken, animal sound.
He didn't speak. He turned. And he ran.
He leapt into the chasm. Vanished into the shadows.
Gone.
Rory slid down the wall. Alone. In the carnage. She put her head in her hands.
And wept.
Love isn't freedom, she sobbed. It's death. Chapter 12. The Sins of the Mother. Running. She was running. Again. But not away. Not from the castle. Where could she go? She ran from his room. His scent. Winter.
Pine.
It was agony. It smelled like his face. When he tried to kill her. She couldn't breathe. She ran.
Down. Down.
Back to the North Tower. Her first prison. It was empty. Cold. The door was broken.
Good.
It felt right. She curled up. On the cold stone floor. Where she first saw him.
No.
Where she first changed. She was so cold.
She wanted to die. Click.
The sound of a boot. Rory looked up. Not a sentinel. The female. The old Leakin woman. The one who brought her food. The one who never spoke. Her eyes. They were not cold. They were sad. So sad. The woman stepped inside. He ran from you, she rasped. Her voice was old. Like stones. It wasn't a question. He tried to kill me, Rory whispered. Her voice was broken. The old woman nodded. Slowly. The rage. It is worse now. Rory looked up. Why? Because of you, the woman said. Not cruelly. Just a fact. He is falling for you. He is letting himself feel. The bond. And so the curse wakes up. This was it. The truth. What is the curse? Rory begged. What is this rage? He said, if he loves me, I'll die. Why? The old woman looked at her. A long time. Then she reached into her rough tunic. She pulled something out. A small wooden box. Wrapped in oilcloth. Old. Stained. I knew your mother, child, the woman whispered. Rory's world stopped. It stopped spinning. It stopped hurting. It just stopped. What? Alara. Your mother. She was here. Once. A long time ago. Before you were born. No. No. She left this, the woman said. She held out the box. She said to give it to her daughter. If fate was so cruel as to bring her back here. Fate. Cruel. Rory's hand was shaking. She took the box. It was light. She opened it. Inside. A journal. Small. Leather-bound. Cracked. Beaten. And a lock of hair. White hair. White like her wolf. Her mother's wolf. No. She opened the journal. The handwriting. Feminine. Strong. Her mother's. My dearest Rory. The first page. If you are reading this, then I am dead. And the curse I ran from has found you. Rory gasped. She flipped pages. Frantic. Words blurring. Tears. Stories of a war. Of a bloodline. The lunar sigil. A bloodline that could heal the curse. Or make it worse. Then she saw his name. Cale Ravenshadow. Her mother had met him. He is a monster, she read. But he was made one. To protect our line. To protect the sigil. The king must be bound. He cannot be allowed to claim the sigil bearer. I had to do it. The witches needed my blood. Of Vale's blood. The blood of the sigil. To bind the curse to his love. I ran from him. I ran from my destiny. And I helped curse Cale Ravenshadow. The journal. It fell from her hands. It slapped against the stone. Her mother. It was her mother. The curse wasn't random. The curse wasn't his. The curse was family. Chapter 13. The Pact. The old Leakin woman, Morwenna, was gone. She had left Rory alone in the cold, broken tower with the truth. And the truth was a poison. Rory's hands, stained with the dust of the journal, were shaking. Her mother.
Elara Vali.
Not just a runaway. Not just a broken heart. A traitor. A co-conspirator. The one who had provided the blood, the key, to lock the curse onto Cale's soul. A curse designed to bind his love, to keep him from her bloodline. If I love you, you'll die. Cale's words. They weren't a warning. They were a fact. A fact her own mother had written into his very being. This changed everything. The rage she had felt at him, for his coldness, for his control, for his power, it all just collapsed. It vanished, replaced by a new, burning, acidic fury. A fury for him, and a bottomless, crushing guilt. She was not his prisoner. He was hers. He was his curse's prisoner, and her family had built the walls. She wasn't running from him anymore. She was running to him. Rory left the tower. She didn't walk. She ran. She tore through the cold, dead halls of the castle, her mind racing. Where would he be? Where did a monster go to hide when he had ripped his own soul open? Not the throne room. Not his chambers. She ran toward the sound of wind. To the battlements. He was there. He wasn't the king. He wasn't the monster. He was just Cale. Cale, standing on the very edge of the castle wall, looking down into the chasm. The wind ripped at his black tunic, plastering it against his body. He looked small. For the first time, he looked breakable. He heard her. He didn't turn. I told you to run, he said.
His voice was dead.
Carried away by the wind. Gurus is in the dungeons. The court is divided. They smell weakness. They smell you.
Go.
Take your chance. Run from the castle. I won't stop you. You tried to kill me, she said. His shoulders tensed. Yes. You saved my life. He said nothing. Rory walked toward him, the wind tearing at her, just as it tore at him. She stopped 6 feet away. The space between them felt like a mile-wide canyon. She knew, Rory whispered. Cale finally turned. His golden eyes were dull. The fire was gone.
What?
My mother. Elara. She knew. Rory held up the journal. It was the only weapon she had. Cale's eyes locked on the small, leather-bound book. He didn't move. The old woman. Morwenna. She gave it to me. She knew my mother. My mother was here. Cale's face didn't just go pale. It turned to stone.
To ash.
He took a step back, as if she had struck him. Elara, he breathed. The name was a ghost. A curse. She helped them, Rory said, her voice breaking, the wind stealing her tears. The witches. The elders who betrayed you. They used her blood to forge the curse. To bind it to your love.
To me.
To Sigil. She was crying now, hating herself for it. It was her. It was my family. It wasn't you. You didn't do this. You were punished. For what? For being born. Cale stared at the book.
He didn't speak.
He just held out a shaking hand. Rory stepped forward and placed the journal in his palm. He opened it. His hands, which had torn rogues to pieces, were so gentle. He read a passage, then another. His breathing stopped. He looked up from the page. His golden eyes were full of an ancient, unbearable agony. All this time, he whispered, I thought fate hated me, but it was a design, a trap, laid by your mother. And I'm going to fix it, Rory said. His head snapped up. I am not my mother, Cale. I am not running. I am not hiding. And I am not letting you die for her sin. You can't. The journal, she said, stepping closer. The wind whipped her hair across his face. He didn't flinch. It talks about more than the curse. It talks about a failsafe. A way to unmake it. The witch stone of Elara. Cale's eyes widened.
A myth.
A children's story. To give hope. Is it? Rory challenged. Or is it the one thing no one, not the traitors, not the rogues, ever wanted anyone to find? He searched her face. He was looking at her. Really looking. Not as a curse. Not as an enemy. As a woman. Rory, he breathed her name. Really her name. To seek the stone. It would mean leaving. It would mean war. My court would fall. Gursa's faction would take over. Then let them have this pile of stone, she cried. What are you, King of Kale? A shadow? A curse? You hide in here. You let them plot. Because you are afraid of feeling. Afraid of me. She stabbed a finger into his chest. I am your only chance. And you are mine. We are both trapped. So let's go get free. Together. Silence. The wind howled. Kale looked down at her finger. Then he covered it with his hand. His skin wasn't cold. It was burning. The bond. It arched between them. This is madness, he whispered. It's hope, she fired back. He didn't let go of her hand. He leaned in. You are fire, Rory Vale, he murmured. You will burn me to ash. Then let's burn together, she dared him.
He did.
He grabbed her. His other hand cupped her face. And he kissed her. It wasn't the near kiss in the garden. That was longing. This was desperation. It was agony. It was hope. It was 30 years of pain and a lifetime of guilt. It was a pact. He tasted like winter and fury and regret. He pulled back. Just an inch. His forehead rested against hers. His golden eyes were blazing. The fire was back. This is a death sentence, he breathed. It's a start, she replied. Get ready, he commanded. The king was back. We leave at midnight. We hunt a myth. Chapter 14. Betrayal in the Woods. They fled. Like thieves in the night. Kale didn't abdicate. He didn't warn the court. He took Rory. And he walked out. They left the castle. Through the same hidden passages Rory had used. He knew them all. The irony was bitter. The king used his servants' tunnels to escape his own kingdom. Now, 2 days later, they were deep in the Forbidden Lands. The world was upside down. The place she had run to for freedom, she now walked with the king of monsters. And he wasn't a monster. He was just Kale. He was focused.
Quiet. Deadly.
He taught her. You walk too loud, he murmured. His voice a low rumble. Feel the earth. Don't step on it. Join it. He taught her to read the clues in her mother's journal. Where the stone bleeds iron, she read. Rust, Kale said. Instantly. A riverbed. High in the mountains. Look for the red water. They were a team. The bond between them was still there. A live wire. But the desperation was gone. Replaced by a hum. A low hum of belonging. It was more dangerous than the kiss. That night they made camp. A small, smokeless fire. Rory had scraped her arm on a rock slide. It was bleeding. Here, Kale said.
He didn't ask.
He pulled her to him. Sit her down.
He took out a small flask.
Water. And a cloth. His touch. It was not the desperate clutch of the kiss. It was gentle. His large, scarred hands which could tear apart armor were so careful. He washed the blood away. Rory hissed. Still, he murmured. His thumb brushed her skin. She watched his face. His dark hair falling forward. The firelight caught the gold in his eyes.
He was concentrating.
So intensely. Why are you doing this? She whispered. He didn't look up. The wound is festering.
No, she said. This.
All of this.
Help me.
Trusting me. The stone. He stopped. He looked up. His eyes locked on hers. You are not what I thought, he said. His voice rumbled. You are a Vale, but you are not your mother. He paused. You came back. To the battlement. You ran into the armory. You walked into my rage. No one ever comes back. He looked at her. And she knew. He wasn't just trusting her. He was starting to. Snap. The sound of a twig. Kale moved. He was on his feet. Blade drawn. In front of her. In a heartbeat. Show yourself, he growled. Silence. Then a voice. A voice from her nightmares. Rory. My dear Rory. Look at you. Playing house with a local monster. I am so disappointed.
No.
It couldn't be. Damon. Her former fiancé. He stepped out of the trees. Not alone. 10 of his hunters. Her old pack. Yerrick was with him. His eyes filled with hate. Damon, she spat. Kale didn't speak. He was a statue. Of death. Oh, I'm not here for you, King, Damon sneered. He was arrogant.
Smug.
Not yet. I'm here for my property. She ran from her own mating ceremony. Very rude. She is not yours, Cale hissed. Oh, she is, Damon laughed. He looked at Rory, and his eyes were cold, calculating. Did you really think you were just an Omega, Rory? Did you think I wanted to mate you for your pretty face? Rory's blood ran cold. You knew, she whispered. Knew. Damon laughed. My dear, your father and I planned this for a decade. Your mother's line. That's special blood. The lunar sigil, we heard the legends of what it could do. Her father. He hadn't just arranged a mating. He had sold her. You were a key, my love, Damon purred. A key to power. And you just led us to the lock. He looked at Cale. Attack. Chaos. The hunters didn't charge.
Thwip. Thwip. Bolts.
Arrows.
Silver.
Rory run. Cale roared.
He didn't attack.
He was defending. He was a blur, batting silver out of the air. But they were ready for him.
Fwoosh.
A net, laced with silver threads. Cale saw it. He could have dodged, but it was aimed at her. He didn't dodge.
He jumped.
He pushed her, rolling her out of the way. The net hit him. SSSSSSSSS.
The sound.
His skin was burning.
He roared.
A sound of pure agony. He fell to his knees, smoking.
Trapped.
Cale! Rory screamed. She scrambled up. A hand grabbed her hair, yanked her back. Damon. He pressed a silver knife to her throat. Stop, he screamed at Cale. Stop fighting the net, King. Or she dies. Right here. And you get to watch. Cale froze. His muscles are straining, the silver eating him alive. His golden eyes met hers, full of rage
and despair.
He had chosen. He had saved her. And doomed himself. Damon laughed. A cold, ugly sound. He dragged Rory closer to the trapped king. Her blood is the key, King, Damon hissed, his breath hot on Rory's ear. You thought it would break your curse? Oh, no. I'm going to use it to steal it. Chapter 15, No Turning Back. This wasn't love. This wasn't a cage. This was Damon's hand. In her hair. And it made her sick. You're a fool, Damon, Rory spat. The silver knife was cold. But she wasn't. She was on fire. Shut up, he snarled. You think you can control it, she hissed. That power? You can't even control your own pack without Daddy's help. She felt him tighten. Good. It will eat you alive. I said shut.
Now.
She didn't try to pull away.
She stomped. Hard.
With her heel. Right on his instep.
Crack. He roared. A human sound.
Pathetic. His grip loosened. Rory didn't wait. She slammed her head back. Hit his nose. More blood. He shoved her away.
Stumbling.
Clutching his face. She was free. She didn't run away. She ran toward the fire. Cale. He was on his knees. The silver net smoking. His skin was blackened. The hunters were closing in. With spears. And oh, she screamed. It wasn't a thought. It was a command. The power. The lunar sigil. It didn't ask. It answered. A bomb of white light. It exploded from her. Not like before. Not a shift. A pulse. A concussion. Of pure moonlight. It hit the hunters. They screamed. Flew back. It hit the silver net. And the silver disintegrated. Turned to dust. It didn't touch Cale. It saved him. She was learning. Cale was free. He looked at her. For 1 second. His eyes blazed with awe. Then he looked at the hunters. And the king of monsters stood up. He wasn't the Shadow Rage. He was Cale. Furious. In control. He moved. It was a massacre. Rory didn't watch. She scrambled. Found a rock. Damon was getting up. His nose is a wreck. You bitch, he spat. She didn't shift. She didn't glow. She hit him. With the rock. Hard. He went down. And stayed down. Silence. The sound of Cale's harsh breathing. The hunters were gone.
Dead.
Or fled. Rory dropped the rock. She was shaking.
Cale, she breathed.
It was over. She turned. He was leaning on his sword. He looked at her. He smiled. A real smile. Broken. Tired. Rory, he breathed.
And he collapsed.
Not a stumble. A dead fall. Face down.
No.
She ran to him, rolled him over.
The blood.
So much blood. It wasn't the net, the burns. It was the arrows, the poison. From Gursa's men. The silver had weakened him. The fight had burned through his last reserves. The curse. Oh gods. Black veins. They were spreading. From his heart. Up his neck.
Fast.
The curse wasn't just rage. It was eating him alive. The fight had fed it.
Kale.
No. Stay with me. She pressed her hands to his chest. Useless. He was dying. In her arms. Because he saved her.
No.
The journal. She tore it from her pack. Her hands were covered in his blood. There has to be another way. Not the stone. It's too slow. She tore at the pages. A madwoman. A page. Stuck to another. A hidden page. Written in a different ink. Hasty.
Desperate.
Her mother's last confession. The failsafe spell. Not the witch stone. A different cure. A faster one. A desperation spell. Her eyes raced over the words. Blood of the sigil. Her. Heart of the king. Him. Under the blood moon it was rising soon. And the last ingredient. The bond must be severed. Willfully. The king must reject the sigil bearer. Rory's blood ran colder than ice. Reject. He had to reject her. She looked down at the dying man in her lap. The man who had just chosen her over his own life.
To save his life.
She had to destroy his heart. She had to make him hate her. Chapter 16. The Blood Moon's Bargain. The world was red. A sick, rusty light bled from the sky, soaking the clearing in the color of Kale's blood. The moon was rising, not the clean, silver orb of the goddess, but a swollen, diseased eye. The blood moon. Rory knelt in the mud, her hands slick and warm.
His blood.
It was everywhere, a dark, terrible stain on her skin, on her clothes. Kale was lying in her lap, his breathing shallow, a rattling, wet sound that terrified her. Kale, she whispered, shaking him. His body was a dead weight. Kale, wake up. You can't.
Not now.
Wake up. His eyes flickered open. The brilliant gold was clouded, dim. The black, poisoned veins on his neck were pulsing, spreading like cracks in glass. Rory, his voice was a dry rasp, a bare whisper of sound. You're safe. I'm safe, she sobbed, clutching the journal, her knuckles white. But you aren't. You're dying. He saved you, Kale breathed, a faint, broken smile touching his lips. The silver. It let the curse in. I know. But I found it, she said, her voice frantic. She held the journal up, the red light catching the edge of the hidden page. I found a cure. Not the stone. Something faster. Hope flickered in his dying eyes. Then do it. Rory's breath hitched. The tears came, hot and blinding. It's not that simple. It's a spell. My mother, she spat the word. She wrote it down. A failsafe. It requires the blood moon. It requires my blood. Then do it, he repeated, his voice weaker. And it requires rejection, she choked out. The tiny spark of hope in his eyes vanished, replaced by a devastating, cold confusion. What? The spell, she said, her voice breaking. It's designed to sever the bond. To save the host, you force the curse to have nothing left to hold on to. But it only works if the bond is broken willfully. She was crying so hard now she could barely speak. It only works if you reject me. Kale stared at her. For a long moment, there was only the sound of his ragged breathing and her quiet sobs. Then he growled. It was a weak sound, but it was filled with the last of his fury.
No.
Kale, you're dying. No, he grabbed her wrist, his grip surprisingly strong, his eyes burning with a sudden, fierce fire. I just found you. I will not cast you away. I would rather die. You are dying, she screamed at him, the tears streaming down her face. And it's all for nothing. My mother did this. My father sold me. Damon tried to steal you. And you idiot, you're going to let them win. She grabbed his face, her bloody hands staining his cheeks. You don't get to die for me, she hissed. You don't get to be noble. I need you to live. Your kingdom is falling apart. Gurus and the traitors are waiting. The rogues are still out there. You have to live, Cale. She pressed her forehead against his. So, for 5 minutes, she begged, her voice shattering. You have to hate me. Hate me for what my mother did. Hate me for being the curse. Hate me, Cale. Please. Hate me enough to live. He looked at her. He saw desperation. He saw the love. He saw the impossible, agonizing choice. The black veins touched his jawline. He closed his eyes. A single tear tracked from his eye, mixing with the blood she had smeared on his face. Tell me what to do, he whispered. The blood moon reached its zenith, and the clearing was bathed in an ocean of red. It was time. Chapter 17. The Severing. You have to stand, Rory whispered, her hands shaking as she propped him up. Cale was a ruin. He could barely get to his feet, his body trembling with poison and weakness. But he did it. He forced himself to his knees, facing her. He was a king, and he would meet this final betrayal on his own terms. The air was dead. The forest is silent. Even the wind seemed to have died, afraid to witness this. Rory opened the journal, her hands slick with his blood. This is a blood oath. A severing. It has to be in your own words. You have to mean it, Cale. The spell says it won't work unless your heart and soul wants the bond gone. How? He rasped, his golden eyes a sea of agony. He looked at her, at the woman who had run into his rage, who had seen his monster, and who had come back. How can I want that? You have to, she said, her voice hard, a mask of cruelty she was forcing onto herself. She was not going to be the reason he died. You have to see me as the curse. I am the curse, Cale. My bloodline created it. My mother bound it to you. Every time you look at me, you feel it. I am your poison. I am the one killing you. He flinched. The truth is, it was a weapon. Think of the rage, she commanded, her voice breaking. Think of trying to kill me. In the garden. That wasn't you, Cale. That was me. My effect on you. You will never be free. You will always be a monster as long as you are bound to me. He was shaking. The poison was nothing compared to this. Say the words, she choked out. Say, I, Cale Ravenshadow. He took a ragged breath. The red moonlight made his black veins glow. I, Cale Ravenshadow, his voice was a wound. He looked at her and faltered. I can't. Do it. Rory screamed, a raw, primal howl of grief and fury. Say it. Say you hate me. Say you never wanted me. Say, I am your curse. Say it. Her pain, her fury, it broke him. It gave him the last, terrible bit of strength. He threw his head back.
He didn't speak. He roared.
It was the sound of the shadow rage. It was the sound of 30 years of pain. It was the sound of a soul tearing itself in two. I, Cale Ravenshadow, Alpha King of the Lycans, do willfully reject you, Rory Vale. The world stopped. I serve this bond. I cast you out. I renounce you. You are not my mate. You are my curse. He looked her right in the eye. You are nothing to me. Snap. It wasn't a sound. It was a feeling. The world broke. A shockwave of cold exploded from Cale's chest. It was not light. It was a void. It slammed into Rory, throwing her physically backward. She felt it. The bond. The hum. The connection that had filled her chest. It was gone. It was cut. The space where it had been was empty. A hollow, freezing, gaping hole. It was the worst pain she had ever felt. She gasped. But no air came. Cale roared. He fell forward. The black veins, they receded.
Fast.
Like ink in water. They fled from his skin. The poison gone. His wounds began to steam. Too close. The spell worked. He was healed. He looked up. His eyes were clear, golden, strong, and empty. He looked at his hands. Healed. He looked at Rory. She was lying on the ground.
Pale.
Unmoving. Rory, he said. His voice was strong.
Clear.
And hollow. She didn't answer. He reached out a hand. And he felt nothing. The pull. The spark. The love. The hate.
Gone.
He was healed. He was empty. Rory didn't move. Chapter 18. The Kingdom of Ash. He was whole.
Kale stood.
His muscles were strong. The silver poisoning, the Black Arrow's curse, the exhaustion. All of it had vanished. The ritual had scoured him clean. He was cured. And he was completely, devastatingly hollow.
He had expected something. Grief.
Regret. Even relief. He felt nothing. The bond was not just a connection. It had been an organ. It had been the part of him that felt. And he had just commanded it to be ripped out. He walked over to Rory. His footsteps were heavy in the sudden, dead silence of the forest. Rory. He said her name. It was just a word. It held no power. It held no love. She was lying on her back, her eyes closed, her face pale as moonlight. She was so still. Get up, he said. It was an order. Hollow. She didn't move. He knelt beside her. His hand, strong and healed, reached out. He pressed 2 fingers to her neck. Thump. A pause. Far, far too long. Thump. Her heart was still beating. But it was faint. It was wrong. It was giving up. He looked at her, and a cold, logical dread began to seep into the emptiness. The spell. To save the host. He was the host. The curse had fed on his bond, his love. What fed her? He looked at her shoulder, where the lunar sigil had blazed. The skin was dull, lifeless. Oh, gods. The truth slammed into him. A cold, intellectual realization, devoid of the panic or horror that should have come with it. The rejection didn't destroy the curse. It had transferred it. It had saved his life by taking hers. His love had fed the curse. And his rejection was now starving her to death. It was his mother-in-law's final, cruel joke. A spell that forced him to kill the one thing he loved in order to save himself. He should be screaming, raging,
Crying.
He just sat.
Numb.
He had won. He was healed. And he had nothing.
Horn.
A new sound. Kale's head snapped up. It was a Leakin war horn. From east. From his castle. Horn.
Horn.
More horns. Answering. Then he smelled it. Smoke.
Thick. Acrid.
The smell of a burning village. He stood up, climbing the small ridge at the edge of the clearing.
He saw it.
On the horizon. His kingdom.
It was on fire.
The castle was lit up. Not with torches. With flames.
Pris.
The traitors. They hadn't waited for him to return. They had known. They had struck. They had used Damon. Used the rogues. To draw him out. To weaken him. And it had poor worked. His kingdom was falling. He was healed. He was strong. And he was alone. He turned back. He looked at the burning kingdom. He looked at the dying woman. He had lost. Everything. He had hit rock bottom. He was king of Ash. He slid down the ridge. He sat next to Rory's body. He felt nothing. He waited for the end. Then something glowed. Faintly.
He looked.
It wasn't Rory. It was the journal. Lying in the mud beside her. It had fallen open. To a new page. And it was glowing. A faint, silver light. Chapter 19. The Revelation. Rory was nowhere.
There was no pain.
No cold stone floor. No scent of kale. There was only a vast, silent, gray emptiness. She was floating, unburdened, and entirely, terribly alone. The bond, that terrible, wonderful, agonizing pull in her chest that had defined her, was gone. The space it left behind was a hollow, echoing void. This is death, she thought. It is quiet. It is a lie. The voice. It was not Kale. It was familiar. Like a song she'd forgotten the words to. A light, a soft silver white, began to glow in the gray. It gathered, coalesced, and formed the shape of a woman. She was tall, with hair as white as Rory's wolf form, and her face was Rory's, but older.
Sadder.
Mother? Rory whispered, the word feeling strange, like a bubble in the void. Ilara, the spirit corrected, her voice filled with a profound, ancient regret. I am what is left of your mother. You cursed him, Rory said. The feeling wasn't anger. The void had no room for it.
It was just a statement.
I did, Ilara admitted, her form wavering. I was a fool. I was so afraid. I thought love was a cage. I thought power was control. She gestated at the emptiness around them. I ran, just like you. But I never stopped running. I ran from Chaol. I ran from my own bloodline. And in my fear, I helped the witches forge a new lock for his curse. The rejection spell, Rory breathed. The failsafe. A trap, Elara hissed, a spark of her living fire returning. A coward solution, I wrote in a moment of panic. A spell that severs the bond. I thought if he could be forced to reject a sigil bearer, the curse would be undone. I was wrong. It's killing me, Rory said, a faint, cold dread seeping in. It severed you, Elara corrected. The spell didn't destroy the curse, child. It moved it. It saved the host, Chaol, by feeding on the only other thing connected to the bond.
You.
The logic was cold. Brutal. So this is it, Rory whispered, resigned.
He lives. Edie.
My mother's final mistake.
No.
The word was a command. The silver light blazed. I was wrong. The rejection spell was a lie. But the prophecy is true. What truth? I thought the curse had to be broken, Elara said, her voice impassioned. But it was never meant to be broken. It was meant to be overwritten. Conquered. The goddess didn't create a curse that could be undone by hate. It can only be undone by choice. Elara's spirit form drifted closer, her eyes pleading. Not a rejection, Rory.
A claim.
A public claim. A love so absolute, so chosen, that it burns the old, false magic away. I never believed a love that strong could exist. I was a coward. I ran. Elara's light began to fade. But you, child, Elara's voice was fading. You didn't run. You ran to him. You chose him. Now choose to live.
How?
Rory cried out to the fading light.
You are not me.
You are not a coward. The light was gone. The voice was gone. The gray void rushed back in, but it was different. The hollow space in her chest wasn't empty. It had a memory, an echo. Choose to live. Rory did. She didn't just wake up. She returned. She took a single, shuddering, gasping breath that tore through the silence of the clearing. Chaol, who had been sitting numb and hollow, staring at the glowing journal, flinched. The journal's light instantly died. He looked over. Rory's eyes were wide open. They were blazing.
She was alive.
Chapter 20. The Queen of Ash. Chaol stared. He was empty. The rejection spell had scoured him clean, not just of the curse, but of feeling. He saw Rory, breathing and alive, and his mind registered it as an impossibility.
There was no joy.
No relief. Just confusion. He felt nothing. Rory sat up, the journal clutched in her hand. The hollowness was still in her chest, the raw, severed place where the bond had been. But the gray, dying void was gone. In its place was a white-hot, righteous fury. She was a coward, Rory hissed, slamming the journal shut. Chaol just watched her, his face a beautiful, hollow mask. You are alive. And you are an idiot, she shot back, staggering to her feet. She was weak, but her voice was steel. He tilted his head. The spell worked. The spell was a lie, she yelled, marching up to him. He flinched from the sheer force of her, this living, breathing fire. My mother tricked us. She tricked herself. Rejection isn't the cure, Chaol. It was just a pause. A way to move the poison from you to me. He looked at her, his hollow eyes finally understanding. It was killing you. It was, she confirmed. But I'm not my mother. I'm not a coward. And I'm not dying for her mistakes. She grabbed the front of his tunic. He was so strong, so healed, and yet he felt like a magnificent statue. Listen to me, she commanded. The bond isn't gone. You just cut it. But the root is still there. My mother, Elara, told me. You saw her, he whispered, his hollow state finally cracking with a sliver of awe. Her ghost. Her regret. Whatever. She said the curse isn't broken by rejection. It's overwritten.
By choice.
A public choice. A claim. Chaol's gaze drifted past her, toward the horizon.
Toward the smoke.
It doesn't matter, he said, his voice flat. Look. Rory turned, and her fury froze. The sky to the east was glowing. Not with sunrise. With fire. The smoke was thick, carrying the screams of his people on the wind. Gurus, he stated. He didn't wait. He played us all. He used Daemon to draw me out.
He used his traitors to weaken me.
And now he takes the throne. He has won. Chaol looked at his healed, strong hands. And I feel nothing. This was the true curse. Rory looked at the burning castle. She looked at this magnificent, powerful man, this king, who had been rendered hollow by a century of pain and a final, terrible choice. The Omega in her, the runaway, screamed to flee. But she wasn't an Omega. She wasn't a runaway.
No, she said.
He looked at her.
No.
He hasn't won, she said, her voice vibrating with a new, terrifying power. She finally understood Sigil. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a symbol. You feel nothing? Good, she said, her voice sharp. Because you don't need to feel. You need to fight. And right now you are not the king. She pointed a shaking finger at his chest. That is not a king. Then she pointed at herself. This is the queen. He just stared. Your kingdom is in ashes, Chaol. Your heart is hollow. You have nothing left to lose. Which means you have everything to gain. You are healed. You are strong. But you are empty. So follow me. She wasn't asking. She was leading.
She grabbed his hand.
It was warm. She felt the spark, even if he couldn't. We are not running away from that fire, Chaol, she said, her eyes blazing with silver light. We are walking into it. We are going to gather your loyalists. We are going to find the witches my mother used. And we are going to walk into that courtyard, and we're going to give them a choice. Choice, he repeated, his voice hollow, but his feet were moving. He was following her. His chaos, she said, pulling him into the dark woods, toward the sound of war horns. Or our rule. Chapter 21. The Reunion Before the Storm. The castle courtyard was a vision of hell. Gurus, in his madness, had not conquered the kingdom. He had broken it. He had opened the gates, and the rogues he had secretly allied with were now rampaging, fighting Chaol's remaining sentinels. Lycans fought Lycans. The traitor faction, loyal to Gurus, was now desperately trying to fight the very rogues they had invited in. It was not a new regime. It was anarchy. Gurus stood on the great hall's balcony, screaming orders that no one was following. Hold the line. Kill the traitors. Find the treasury. He was a politician, not a king, and his victory was devouring itself. Into this chaos they walked. Not snuck. I walked. Chaol Ravenshadow, healed and whole. A dark, terrible god of war. And Rory Vale, her white wolf pelt cloak, a gift from Morwenna's loyalists, blazing like a silver banner against the fire. The fighting faltered. A rogue, his eyes red, turned from a sentinel and saw Chaol.
He froze.
A sentinel, bleeding from 3 wounds, saw his king, alive, and wept. The chaos paused. A pocket of silence formed around them. He's alive. Gurus shrieked from the balcony, his voice cracking with pure, undiluted terror. The curse-bearer. She's with him. It's a trick. He pointed to a trembling, clawed hand. Kill them. Kill them all. I am your alpha. A dozen of Gurus's men hesitated, then charged. Chaol was hollow. He was a weapon. He drew his sword. He moved to meet them. This was it. He would die here. Empty.
No.
Rory's voice. It cut through the din. She walked past him. Past his sword. She walked toward the charging Lycans. They stopped. Confused. She wasn't fighting. She wasn't running. She lifted her arms. Lycans, she shouted. And her voice boomed, imbued with a power that wasn't hers. The sigil. You were told your king was weak. You were told I was his curse. She pointed up at Gurus, who was now hiding behind a pillar. Look at your kingdom. This is not weakness. This is chaos. This is treason. A king of ash. She turned. She walked back to Chaol. He was standing frozen, hollow, staring at her. This was his queen. This was the woman he had rejected. The battle was paused. 1,000 eyes were on them. She stopped. Right in front of him. She reached up. She put her hand on his chest. Over his heart. She felt nothing. Just a strong beat. I know you can't feel me, Kale, she whispered, for him alone. His golden eyes were locked on hers.
Hollow. Lost.
You rejected me to live, she said. Now choose me to be alive. Rory, he breathed. It was a question. My mother was wrong, she said, her voice rising again, for all to hear. Rejection is not the cure. This is. She grabbed his tunic. She pulled him closer. This is the prophecy. A choice. In front of our people. In front of the goddess. She looked him in the eyes. No fear. Only fire. Curse or no curse. Death or no death. I am not running. I choose you, Kale Ravenshadow. My king. My mate. A gasp went through the crowd. Kale was shaking. He couldn't feel her. But he saw her. He saw his salvation. If we die, he whispered, his voice cracking with the first hint of something other than emptiness. Rory smiled, tears streaming. If we die, she finished, we die free. Together. And in front of the burning kingdom and the watching armies, she pulled his face down to hers. Chapter 22, The Choice. She kissed him. It was not a kiss of passion, but of proclamation. In the center of the burning courtyard, surrounded by enemies and a broken kingdom, Rory claimed him. Kale, hollow and numb, felt a sudden, agonizing spark. The bond, severed and raw, didn't just reconnect. It ignited. The curse, sensing the new, chosen connection, rose for its final, furious kill. Kale roared, a sound of agony as the shadows, the true moon's rage, burst from his chest, trying to consume him. Rory screamed as the light of the lunar sigil exploded from her, meeting the darkness. They were a storm of shadow and silver, a vortex of power that threw the watching armies to the ground. The light didn't fight the dark. It consumed it. It poured into Kale, hunting the curse, burning it from his very soul. It was agony. It was transcendence. Gyrus, watching from the balcony, shrieked, "It's killing them. The prophecy is false." Kale felt his heart stop. Rory felt her spirit tear. They held on to each other, a single, defiant anchor in a sea of magic. I choose you. The thought was not his. It was not hers. It was theirs. A final, silent boom of pure, white light vaporized the shadows. The fire in the courtyard snuffed out. The wind died. And in the sudden, deafening silence, Kaesael and Rory, their bodies smoking with spent magic, collapsed as one, unconscious in the ash. The curse was gone. Chapter 23, The King and His Queen. Kale woke to a single, devastating sensation, feeling. The hollowness was gone. In its place was a rushing, overwhelming tide of her.
Love.
Terror. Relief. It was so intense he choked on it. He was alive. He was whole. Rory, he gasped, his voice raw. He turned, his body aching, and saw her. She was waking too, her eyes fluttering open, no longer pale, but vibrant. As their eyes met, the bond, now clean and pure, sang between them. There was no pain.
No curse.
Just belonging. You, I, he stammered, his heart too full for words. Rory smiled, a slow, tired smile that remade his world. You felt that, did you? She sat up, and as she did, the sigil on her shoulder, which had been dull, blazed with a soft, permanent silver light. It was no longer a prophecy. It was a mark. Around them, the courtyard was a stunned tableau. The remaining traitors, seeing Kale alive and the curse visibly gone, threw down their arms in terror. The loyalists stared in awe. The rogues, their dark magic now severed from its source, were already slinking away into the shadows. Kale, the healed king, stood up. He was whole. He was free. He looked at Rory, the woman who had faced his rage, his rejection, and his kingdom's fall. In front of the shattered remains of his court, Kale Ravenshadow knelt in the ash. He took her hand, bowed his head, and showed them all who their true monarch was. Chapter 24, The Sunrise Ceremony. Weeks later, there was another ceremony. It was not in a dark throne room or a burning courtyard. It was on the battlements, at dawn. The sky was painted in hues of soft pink and gold. The kingdom was healing. Gurus and his traders were in the dungeons they had built for others. The rogues were scattered, and Kale, with Rory at his side, was rebuilding. He stood by the stone edge, not in a king's armor, but in a simple black tunic. He watched her approach. Rory wore a simple white dress, but it was not the color of surrender. It was the color of a fresh start. Her hair, unbound, caught the morning light. The silver sigil on her shoulder was visible through the fabric. She wore no crown. She bore only scars. And she was beautiful. She stopped in front of him. There were no drums.
No chance.
Kale knelt, taking her hands. You ran from the pack ceremony, he murmured, his golden eyes filled with a love so bright it rivaled the sun. I did, she whispered, her fingers lacing with his. And fate brought you to mine. He rose, and in front of the rising sun, he kissed her. It was not a pact. It was not a proclamation. It was a promise. Rory, the runaway Omega, had become a queen. Not by blood, not by force,
but by choice.
Freedom wasn't being alone. Freedom was the power to choose where you belonged. And she was finally home.